Hi, I am the F&B detective. I found some of the facts of coffee. Today I am going to share with you. Let's start. Why you're drinking coffee? Coffee can help people feel less tired. That's because it contains a stimulant which is called caffeine. What matters most is how it tastes, smells, and whether or not it makes you feel alert and happy in the morning. Let's learn today. The basics of coffee. What is coffee? Coffee is a brewed drink prepared from roasted coffee beans, the seeds of berries from certain coffea species. And what is coffea? Coffea is a genus of flowering plants in the family Rubiaceae. Coffea species are shrubs or small trees native to tropical and southern Africa and tropical Asia. What is a coffee bean? A coffee bean is actually a seed. When dried, roasted and ground, it is used to brew coffee. But if the seed is not processed, it can be planted and will grow into coffee tree. How many different types of coffee beans are there? There are 4 main types of coffee beans currently in commercial circulation: Arabica, Robusta, and the less common Liberica and Excelsa coffee beans. You're probably already familiar with this commonly produced coffee bean. It accounts for over 60% of the world's coffee production. Arabica roasts made from Arabica beans are considered higher quality and are often pricier. It is also known as the Arabian coffee. Robusta coffee beans are the second most used coffee bean. These are what Americans are used to brewing at home. Liberica produces the biggest beans. The flavor profile is unique and is described as smoky, nutty, floral with hints of dark chocolate, ripe berry and spice. Excelsa has a distinctive tart, fruity, dark, mysterious taste. And about the coffee plant. Coffee comes from the seeds of a small tree in the genus Coffea, and although somewhat surprising, is considered a fruit. The plant is a tree with evergreen leaves and a main stem that can grow up to 10 meters tall when growing in the wild. How is coffee harvested? Coffee is all processed in different ways. From seed to cup there are countless decisions and different ways to do things, and only after serious experimentation and research will a coffee reach its true potential. Coffee harvesting is the first step of the fully grown cherries coming to our cups, and there are 2 methods that are used: selective harvesting and strip harvesting. Selective harvesting is the picking of only the ripe coffee cherries by hand. Only the ripe cherries are picked, while the unripe cherries are left of the tree, to be reassessed a few weeks later. This process is repeated until all the viable coffee has been picked. It's an extremely labor-intensive method, with pickers setting out and filling baskets hung around the waist. There are a few advantages to this harvesting method that help the coffee produced to be as high quality as possible. As only ripe fruit are picked, a lower percentage of unripped and harvested coffee leads to higher prices for producers. Strip harvesting is where all the coffee fruit is mechanically stripped from the trees in one go. This results in harvests of varying maturation levels, but is much less intensive and expensive. There are 3 ways of strip harvesting, the first being manual stripping. The next kind is mechanical stripping, and the third way of strip harvesting coffee is using a mechanical harvester. And this is the stages of coffee cherry development from immature flesh, pulp, 41%, silver skin, 1%, outer skin, 8%, and coffee bean, 50%. Processing the coffee bean. Processing coffee is the act of removing the layers of skin, pulp, mucilage, and parchment that surround a coffee bean. Once the coffee has been picked, processing must begin as quickly as possible to prevent spoilage. Depending on location and local resources, coffee is processed in one of 3 ways: washed or wet processed. For this process, the freshly harvested coffee cherries are depulped, which removes the skin and most of the fruit around the bean. Natural or dry processed. The second most common process that we carry is natural or dry processed. Ripe cherries are laid out on a patio or on raised beds, fruit intact, and the coffee is allowed to dry slowly. Honey process. For honeyed coffee, the harvested cherries are depulped, then the coffee is immediately placed on beds for slow drying, bits of pulp or fruit included, which is depending on how much pulp is left on the coffee. Honeyed coffee can be classified as yellow, red, or black. While you're drinking coffee, coffee can help people feel less tired. That's because it contains a stimulant called caffeine. What matters most is how it tastes, smells, and whether or not it makes you feel alert and happy in the morning. Let's see. Different types of coffee. Espresso. Espresso is the coffee making method of Italian origin, in which a small amount of nearly boiling water is forced under pressure through finely ground coffee beans. Espresso coffee can be made with a wide variety of coffee beans and roasts. Americano is made by pouring a shot of espresso into a coffee cup and then adding hot water. CAFFE latte. CAFFE latte is a coffee drink made with espresso and steamed milk. The word comes from the Italian caffè latte, caffè or caffè, which means coffee and milk. Cappuccino. A cappuccino is an espresso-based coffee drink that originated in Italy and is traditionally prepared with steamed milk foam. Variations of the drink involve the use of cream instead of milk and flavoring with cinnamon or chocolate powder. Flat white. A flat white is a coffee drink consisting of espresso with microfoam. It is comparable to a latte, but smaller in volume and with less microfoam. Macchiato, also known as a piccolo latte, caffè macchiato, sometimes called espresso macchiato, is an espresso coffee drink with a small amount of milk, usually foamed. Mochaccino. A mochaccino, also called caffè mocha, is a chocolate-flavored variant of a caffè latte. Filter coffee. Coffee made by allowing water to pass through a paper or mesh filter containing ground coffee. And South Indian filter coffee is a coffee drink made by mixing frothed and boiled milk with the infusion obtained by percolation brewing of finely ground coffee powder in a traditional Indian filter. The drink known as CAFFE. Irish coffee. Irish coffee is a cocktail consisting of hot coffee, Irish whiskey, and sugar, stirred and topped with cream. The coffee is drunk through the cream. Affogato. An affogato is an Italian coffee-based dessert. It usually takes the form of a scoop of vanilla ice cream topped with the shot of hot espresso. Caffè con panna. Espresso con panna, which means espresso with cream in Italian, is a single or double shot of espresso topped with whipped cream. In the United States it may also be called Café Vienne. In France and in the United Kingdom it's called Café Vinoise. Kopi Luwak. World most expensive coffee. Kopi Luwak is a coffee that consists of partially digested coffee cherries, which have been eaten and defecated by the Asian palm civet. It is therefore also called civet coffee. Kopi Luwak is produced mainly on the Indonesian islands of Sumatra, Java, Bali, Sulawesi, and in East Timor. It is also widely gathered in the forest, or produced in farms in the islands of the Philippines, where the product is called Cape Motit in the Cordillera region, Cape Alamid in Tagalog areas, Cape Malor or Cape Musang in Mindanao, and Cahoa Cubing in the Sulu archipelago.